Hello, everybody. I'm Sensational Stacy Corrigan, the Rocket from Woonsocket, super proud badass broker and founder of Peace of Mind Property Management and Real Estate. And we sell real estate right here in Blackstone Valley, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. And today, in honor of Veterans Day, we're bringing on our good friend and lender, Aaron Kloss from Nations Lending. And he's been doing mortgages for 20 years. He is totally seasoned. And we're going to hand it to you, Aaron. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in mortgages.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy, and happy Veterans Day. Thank you very much to our men and women in service. So I've been in this industry for about 20 years. I moved to Rhode Island to pursue college and graduated, and they got me on career day right on the day I graduated. So got me right into the mortgage industry. So, I've seen a lot of markets shift up and down, just like we're in one right now. So this is nothing new to people in our industry. But the big thing about mortgages and why I stayed with it is, for me, buying a house is the only way you can really create generational wealth. So to see young families have the opportunity to own something, it really is the American dream. And especially on this Veterans Day, it's what we're all here for. And it really, makes me happy to be able to be a part of that.
Love it. Love it. So we're here mainly to talk about VA loans. The good news is buyers can actually start using them again and be competitive with them again, because the past 2 years it was hard, very hard. My brother-in-law just joined our team as an agent, and he just retired from the Navy as a 30-year veteran. And I know he wants to buy some property with using his benefits. So why don't you talk about VA loans? Let's start with who's eligible.
Sure. Yeah. The VA program is the best mortgage program that's available, and it definitely should be. Basically, anybody is available that has served the country for at least 90 to 180 consecutive days. That depends on the time and period of when they served. Also, anybody in the National Guard or Reserves that might have not done that amount of days but have 6 years of service and an honorable discharge, they also do qualify for a VA loan. The best way for us to figure this out is if you have a copy of your form DD 214, we then send it into the VA, and they are able to give us your certificate of certificate of eligibility, which will let us know exactly, one, if you qualify for a veteran and how much your benefit is for.
Perfect. Because I think that was one of my other questions, is what proof do they need? So that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's what they need. So perfect. What makes VA loans different from other types of financing?
Yes, and again, that's why this is the best program. First and biggest, there's no down payment requirement, so you can get 100% financing with a VA loan. Next, there's no mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance is anytime you don't put down 20%, you have to pay a monthly fee to protect lenders against foreclosures. With a VA loan, there is no mortgage insurance. So this is a big monthly savings for our veterans. Some of the other great benefits is they'll let you go up to a higher debt to income, depending on your cash flow. But this might help buyers that are right on the edge of being able to afford a house. Now they can get that extra little bit to help them be able to purchase the house.
So it sounds like with a VA loan, there's a lot of opportunity there for people to qualify for more house right now, especially with
Absolutely.
the interest rate environment. It could make the difference for them. Like the
Yep.
PMI, that's fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, the PMI is a big one because that can be up to $100 to $200 a month added onto their payment that they don't have to worry about. It is
Fantastic.
important, if you are a veteran, there is a funding fee that is charged by the VA. But if you're at all disabled, you can go ahead and get that waived. So make sure, if you're applying for a VA loan, to let your lender know if you are disabled. We'll also be able to figure that out eventually once we get your certificate of eligibility as well.
Perfect. That's a great tip. I'm sure a lot of people don't even realize that fact. How do you handle the deposit? Because if they're 100% financing, we've had to come out of a really competitive market. I've had VA buyers try to put only $100 down, but that's not going to help them be competitive in a multiple offer situation. So are they able to get, if they put a more significant deposit down, are they able to get that back at closing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% financing. So you have two options with your deposit. The first is you can use it towards your closing costs. That way you're not coming out with more money out of pocket. The second way is you can have it refunded to you at the closing. So basically, your title attorney would write you a check for whatever your deposit was on the day you're closing, which is kind of nice to actually get a check back,
Right?
when going to buy a house. Usually you're the one bringing the check. So
Exactly. And so speaking of closing costs, are they able to roll some closing costs into their loan as well?
yeah, this is actually a premier feature of the VA loan. Now, you can't roll it into your loan, but especially in this market, right, where it's starting to see a buyer's market, the values of houses are coming down a little bit. The sellers now are actually giving what they call sellers credits to buyers to help them, get more offers on their house. And this is basically the seller offering to pay some of the closing costs for the veteran. Now, the VA loan's a lot different than other programs because not only will they let the seller go ahead and contribute to the closing costs, but they'll also give them additional amount of money that can do other things like buy down maybe some of the debt of our veteran. So maybe the veteran had a few different credit cards. They can actually use a seller's credit to pay off these credit cards, which will help them get pre-approved for a little bit more. Maybe they need new appliances in the house. They can use these extra seller's credits to furnish some of that stuff as well. So it's
That's
really a unique program that the VA has to help our
that's
veterans out
awesome.
there.
And then do I remember correctly that that percentage of the total sale price for the credit could be how much percent? Do
So
you
really, the VA will let the seller pay for all the closing costs for the veteran, but they also get an additional 4% on top of that that they can use for these other things like buying down the debt, maybe appliances, things like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's things
Yep.
that I'm sure many, many people did not even realize was out there as an
And
option.
over the last 2 years, it really wasn't around because it was definitely a seller's market, multiple offers. But as we
Mhm.
see things shifting, sellers are a lot more welcoming to doing things like these to help our veterans and help people, get financing for their homes. So
Yeah, we're doing a deal right now that is through a VA financing, and honestly, the seller is tickled and happy to do anything to help get it to closing. So we're
yeah,
really happy to have this VA buyer right now.
fantastic. Yep.
All right, so you called me yesterday to let me know that rates went down. Why don't you tell everybody how the news hypes everybody up the wrong way, and what rates are doing, and what how that is impacted by inflation and everything you shared with me yesterday.
Yeah, so yesterday was a little bit exciting around the office for once. So it was nice to come into a really positive attitude. Basically, what's going on is we had really good inflation and jobs reports, this week. So we see what the Fed has been doing is working, right?
Good.
The whole point of them raising the rates were to combat inflation. Now, obviously, what the Fed does doesn't impact mortgage rates, but what it does is if we can curb inflation, more investors are more willing to get back into mortgage-backed securities and bonds, which is then going to go ahead and help out the mortgage industry and help lower our rates. So we did see that. We got positive results on Thursday, and we did see it start to affect the mortgage rates already.
Oh,
Now,
good.
the bond market's closed today, so
Right.
we can't really know what's going on yet. But hopefully Monday, if this continues to be, the trend, then we're going to be looking good here in the next few months.
Oh, good, because we definitely need a little movement, in the right direction now. They kind of stalled us a little bit, and let's hopefully
They
that it
did,
can get
and a
back.
lot of buyers that are out there that have been pre-approved, you really want to go ahead and get those pre-approvals updated because we
Mm-hmm.
all know when the rates come down, what goes up?
Yep.
The property values, right? So
Exactly.
now is the time to get in there before that starts to happen and
Mm-hmm.
maybe hit kind of like a nice niche in the market.
Yeah, let yourself get pre-qualified for more house
Mhm.
before that part catches up.
Yeah,
Yep,
because there'll
got
be a
it.
lot more competition come spring. So now is actually a really good time to buy.
I agree with you. I love selling houses in January, December. I know people don't like moving then in New England with the snow, but I
No,
closed on my house in February, and don't you know that year, the day I moved, it was the only day it snowed.
true, but I'll tell you, sellers don't like heating that house all winter either if they're trying to sell a property. So they're more willing to give
Exactly.
you a little bit of a break.
Exactly. All right. So for our buyers and our sellers, because this is good info for them to help make their listing more competitive, can you explain what your 3-2-1 rate buy down program is all about?
Sure. Yep. So as we talked earlier, sellers are willing to give a little bit of a more of a seller's credit. So this is actually what we call a win-win for both our buyers and sellers. Say you have a seller that their house has been sitting on the market for a little while and they're thinking about reducing the price. Well, sometimes they'll reduce the price 20, 30,000, which can be a big drop. Instead of doing that, which doesn't benefit the buyer as much as you think. Yes, it might be a little bit of a lower mortgage payment, but over 30 years, a $10,000 difference might only be $20 a month in their payment. That's
Mm,
not going to really affect our buyers.
mm-hmm,
So instead of doing that, we're telling a lot of our real estate agents, listing agents, that offer this 2-to-1 buy down or offer them to pay your closing costs. These are much more benefit to our buyer.
mm,
And what the 2-to-1 buy down is basically it's taking that money from the seller and putting it aside in an escrow account, and it's paying some of the upfront insurance or interest on your monthly payment for the first 2 years. Right. So basically, if you are a buyer and you have to qualify for the higher rate, say you qualify for a 7% interest rate, okay, that's what your rate is. That's what your rate is. Okay. But for the first year, they're going to make it a 5%. And the difference in the payment between the 5% and the 7% is going to come out of that escrow account from the seller, giving you a little bit of a lower payment for the first year. Then the second year, it'll be a 6%. And the same thing, that difference comes out of the escrow account until you get to the third year. That money from the escrow account's gone, but now you're paying the regular 7% that you qualified for now for the 30 years. I'm sorry, for the third year through the 30 years. It's a fixed rate, just like a normal mortgage.
I remember a while back there was something like a graduated mortgage payment. So it sounds like that same type of program, except that the seller's just contributing the difference. And so the escrow account, would that be similar to the same one that gets set up for impounds like taxes and insurance?
Correct. It's just putting your money in a separate account where that comes out of month to month through the monthly payment.
Perfect. So the bank is still getting all the interest. It's just the seller's contributing to help the buyer out. So now,
Correct.
does the buyer still need to qualify at the highest interest rate?
Yes, and that's the important thing. We don't want to do high risk loans. We've learned our lessons, back in 2008 about, high risk loans. We want to make sure that the borrower can afford the program or can afford the purchase at the higher interest rate. So they do have to qualify for it. We make it very clear that what their payments are going to be year 1, year 2, and year 3 through 30. So definitely making sure that they understand that and that they know that this is what's going to happen. But it's going to give them a little break.
Right.
When you buy a new home, everything's expensive, right? You have moving costs, you have, hot water heater is going to go in the first couple of years. You might need a new furnace, new roof, whatever. There's so much cost in the beginning when buying a house that even if they can't afford the higher rate, this is just going to give them that little bit of a break for a couple of years. And who knows, the rates might drop in the next 2 years. We're already starting to see them come down. So, maybe they have this lower payment for a couple of years and then they're able to refinance into it permanently. So that's the hope.
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this was very helpful. So appreciate you coming on. We're helping more than just our vets today. There's, lots of good info for all of our buyers and sellers out there. And you've brought us some really great news today. I hope you get to enjoy a little time off later today. I know we're always working a lot of the time, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. One other thing I'd like to say for our veterans, Nations Lending and team with one of our title companies offers $1,000 off our closing costs now for all our veterans and our hometown heroes. So
that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, how will people reach you, Aaron?
You can always get a hold of me. My cell phone's on 24 hours a day. I give it to everyone that I work with, including my borrowers. So I'm all over social media. Reach out to me or call me anytime. My cell phone's 401-275-3149. Always available.
Excellent. And then how about email?
Yep. It's aaron.kloss@nationslending.com.
And you're AARON.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
KLOSS.
There we go. Right. Not like Santa.
No.
All right. And if there's any buyers or sellers out there that need a over the moon brokerage to help service their needs, we're here for you at Peace of Mind. Our website's pmpmre.com. And or you can just look up the rocket from Woonsocket, sensational Stacey Corrigan. All right. Thank you so much for your time, and you enjoy your day.
You too. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Stacey.
Absolutely. Anytime. Appreciate you.